In today's video, I thought you might be interested in looking at this Better Homes and Gardens garden book. I picked it up at an antique store for like $7, and I was so excited. I got it and the cookbook. This one is a copyright 1951, so this is really cool. There's so much information in here. I think you're really going to like it. And there are definitely others available online, so if you want to add this to your collection, you can. As you can see, it has some great little tabs here and wonderful colorful pictures inside. I want to start with reading the foreword to you. It says, "This book is offered as guide, counselor, and aid to new homeowners eager to start planting. To you whose interests and family needs have changed since your property was new to you, and to you who simply want to keep your place looking well. To all I'd like to say that the rewards of gardening and of the garden handyman's work are as pleasantly surprising as they are varied. You won't become a gardener just by reading this book. You will get ideas. You will get inspiration and help. You will see how to do things better and more easily, things that lead to a full and enjoyable life at home. No one is too young or too old to start. Put your mind on beauty, convenience, and comfort. Decide to do much of what is to be done with your own hands, for that is part of the reward. Our possessions can never be truly ours unless we look at and handle them fairly often." Garden editor, Better Homes and Gardens. All right, this is pretty amazing. So here are all the contents. As you can see, how to use your space, lawns, how to make and keep them, how to plan for continuous bloom, success with roses, shrubs for many uses, evergreens for long time pleasure, vines, what they can do for you, garden pools, how to build and plant, shade, its possibilities and problems, walls and banks, how to plant, maintenance, labor savers, tools, garden storage, construction in the home garden, garden soils, how to manage them, vegetable growing that pays, fruit for the home place, control of pests and diseases, window gardening and success with houseplants, seed starting, propagation, flowers for cutting, calendar of garden reminders for the 12 months, and indexes. So this has so much knowledge available. It could take you quite a good amount of time just to read it all. But I'm just going to give you a brief overview. Believe it or not, it may be 15 minutes long, but this is as brief as I can make it. So starting with chapter 1, how to use your space. There's so much information in here. It talks about like how you can lay out your garden area, no matter how big or small your plot of land is. And it gives you even some drawn visuals that you can look at and how to kind of divide up that space. And the pictures are just lovely. I think you're really going to enjoy them if you do pick up this book. So many wonderful ideas, kind of the cottage look, or what we think of as English cottage garden look. So beautiful and wonderful, wonderful photographs and ideas. And it even addresses, when you don't have a lot of space to plant, how can you lay that out? How can you make the most of whatever size of a garden you have? And then on to chapter 2, lawns and how to keep them. You can see here, how to plant your lawn well, how to deal with weeds or even if you want to choose a cover crop. It talks about some ground covers other than grass. So a lot of options there. Now, maybe not all of this is something you might want to directly implement, but there's still a lot of ideas. Even if you don't want to use any pesticides, like me, I don't use pesticides. Still, there's so many options in this book and ideas for you to think about. But moving on to chapter 3, this is about continuous bloom comes with planning, which is talking about planning what flowers you want, right? If you want to have flowers all season long, all garden season long, you can. You just have to plan for it. And talks about like several different types of bulbs, how deep to plant them, when to plant them, and I mean, the pictures give you an idea of just how many flowers you can pack in. And it talks about like working with annuals versus perennials, biennials, different types of famous classic flowers, which are really fun. And probably this is one of my favorite chapters in the book because I do love flowers. And I do want to master the art of working with bulbs, which I kind of failed at this year. I tried to plant tulip bulbs and they didn't make it. Anyway, the next section is success with roses. This is really helpful. It shows you all the parts of the rose. It shows you, how different, analyzing what type you might want, climbers versus bushes and things like that, how to prune them, and even has a great page on types of problems that can arise, like with the different bugs and things, and that can be really helpful. And then moving on to chapter 5, we have shrubs for many uses. So shrubs also are a great addition to your garden, and it shows you different types. Like in everything from things like azaleas to like flowering shrubs to also just evergreen type hedges. So I think you'll really like looking at all of the options here. And there's just a ton of information in this book. I'm barely touching the surface, but you can maybe hopefully get an idea of what would be in this book if you were to add it to your collection. And then in chapter 6, it's going to walk you through evergreens and adding them into your garden, types of evergreens, why you might want them, how you can, make the edge of your lawn look more neat and tidy, and the benefit of adding these to your garden. And it gives you some information on identification, which is helpful too if you already have some in your garden. And then vines and what you can do with those, which is really cool. It does kind of give you that English cottage feel. Different types of vines. And look at these. This is just so interesting. And then, of course, chapter 8 moves on to garden pools. And not swimming pool. This is actually more like ponds, really. Various types of ponds. And how you can install those, which is something I would like to do in the future, definitely. And types of water plants. And then chapter 9 is shade. Its problems and possibilities. Which, if you know anything about gardening, you know that, shade is challenging because so many things require full sun. But it kind of gives you ideas, like maybe you do need some shade. If you're in a super sunny area, you want to plant a tree, and how you can do that, and types of trees, whether they're going to be flowering trees or fruit trees, and how you can install those. And then moving on to chapter 10, we have walls and banks and how to plant them. So if you want like a rock wall or a stone pathway, you can see here some advice on how to do that. And chapter 11 is maintenance tools and garden storage. So how to take care of your tools, how to, remove rust, things like that. What kind of basic tools are good to have in a shed, and that sort of planning gives you advice how to keep everything in good condition and where you can store it. And then chapter 12 is construction in the home garden. So if you want to build a fence or a picnic table or some sort of structure, it has advice on how to do that. Also types of stone patterns, brick patterns, laying cement even. So it's more than just working with wood, although a lot of wood is featured in this chapter. There's also other types of materials discussed. Okay, and then in chapter 13, it's talking about the soil and taking care of the soil, right? The dirty 30s, the Dust Bowl, people realized, wow, we do have to care for the soil. We have to prevent erosion. And so this kind of talks about like how to take care of your soil. There's even a section on composting and fertilizing and taking care of the plant food and things like that, and mulching, which is, I think, really important information. And then chapter 14 is going to talk about your vegetables, types of vegetables, how long they take to grow, what conditions they need, how to organize a vegetable patch or a potager, and the different types of crops, like vine versus bush crops, things like that, and how to store them and harvest them. A lot of different information to do with that I think you'll find interesting. And then chapter 15 is fruit for the home place. It's going to talk about your bushes and your trees and when to plant those, when they're going to be harvested, which those are nice to have, right? Because who wouldn't want a fruit tree in your backyard? But even if you don't have a lot of space, you can do strawberries. Strawberries are really not that difficult to grow. And then chapter 16 is control of garden pests and diseases. Now, there might be some controversial information in here because, yeah, it's probably going to talk about some pesticides and things. But, there also there's good information in here as well. So, it doesn't mean you have to do everything that they're recommending, but it does give you some options here. And what was typically done in the late 40s, early 50s. And then we're moving on to chapter 17, window gardens, how to be successful with house plants. So it's going to give you some tips and tricks to that indoor gardening piece, and how to use plants for decoration, and what plants need more sun than others. So this is really fun. And even talks about a little greenhouse, what kind of plants you can grow in the greenhouse. And then chapter 18 is about seed starting and propagation. So how to do those important steps, like how to get your seeds to sprout, and how to prepare the soil, prepare the seeds, and ways of propagating to increase your plant supply and to help rooting new plants, and even how to graft woody plants. Okay, and then there's some garden reminders in chapter 9, which go by month and according to location, some tasks that you will need to do in your area for your garden during each month, which is kind of cool. So, and then moving on to the last session is just some facts, some weights, some measures, and then the indexes. So that's the entire book right there. This one is in really amazing condition, and I was so happy to find it. But if you'd like to pick this up, I suggest looking online. I have seen several copies. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.